The Polestar 3 is an all-electric SUV and the third vehicle coming from Polestar. I recently had the opportunity to get an early first look at the Polestar 3 when Polestar invited me to northern Sweden, just inside the Arctic Circle, to check out their vehicle and drive it on a frozen lake. I also had the opportunity to speak with two high-ranking Polestar product managers and, of course, spend a little time charging the new Polestar 3. I'm standing on a frozen lake in northern Sweden, just inside the Arctic Circle, with a Polestar 3. Now, the Polestar 3 is the brand's third vehicle. It's launching in North America in the summer of 2024. It's going to come in both a dual motor long range version and also a performance vehicle. Today, I'm going to have the opportunity to drive this guy on this frozen lake. They have a track set up for us. We're going to do a walk around video. We're going to talk to some product managers. I'm going to give you an overall of this exciting all-electric SUV that's going to be joining the Polestar lineup in just a few months. So I'm here with Beatrice Simonsson, who's the head of product management for Polestar. We're going to take a look at the exterior design features of this new Polestar 3. Yes. Beatrice, thanks for joining me here. Have at it. Let's talk about design.
Let's talk about the beautiful Polestar 3 here in the northern part of Sweden.
Yes.
Yes. So
on a frozen lake.
Yeah, on a frozen lake. Driving today. This is the long-range dual motor with performance pack. Mm-hmm. So if we start in the front, this is a true SUV. We call it the SUV for the electric age, the Polestar way. So as you see, we start in the front. It's not that bulky traditional SUV that you are used to. It's our take on a SUV, a performance version. So here in the front, you see the smart zone. Here is where we cluster all the sensors or cameras and the complete sensor set for the car. We have a bunch of them here and then around the car. I will show you later on. We also have this wing.
Yeah,
and this is
a very interesting feature.
It is a very interesting feature, and it's not only this wing, but when we made this car, we thought about aerodynamics, how the air is actually going up. Because if you have a very high SUV like this, bulky one, then of course the air doesn't have any. They need to go over. So it's a part of the complete design of the car. So the air goes in here, goes out here to get the perfect trajectory as we want. And this one, together with, for instance, the mirrors on the side, small ones, and together with the aero features in the rear that I will show you later, that gives you the complete system of the car to get the low aerodynamics as possible, of course, to increase range.
And on the bottom, I noticed there's active air shutters down there.
It's active air shutters as well. Here you have, of course, cleaning for the cameras. It's an HD megapixel camera in 2 different levels that you can use. Very, very good.
And it's a traditional, like, Volvo, Polestar, Thor's hammer type headlights.
It is, because we're proud of our heritage from Volvo. But we have the Thor's hammer. So traditionally in Polestar 2, it was very like Volvo. Now we're going in 2 different directions. We do have the traditional, but it's much, much slimmer than in the old traditional Thor's hammer.
Okay.
So we're done it the Polestar way.
Take a look at the side.
Then we come to the side here. So you see, I will switch over like this. So here you see the stance of the car, and you see the long wheelbase, and underneath we have a battery of 111 kilowatts.
Total capacity.
Hours.
Right?
Total capacity, and we use 107 of it.
107. Yeah, that's pretty high percentage of the battery.
It's a high percentage of the battery, and we use the weight of the battery to get a low center of gravity. So when you drive here now on the O's, you really feel the agility, and you actually don't feel the weight of the car. It feels very light and fun to drive, as you
Which
probably
it does.
know.
Yeah. And one of the things you just mentioned, center of gravity, one of the things that I was surprised to hear was that the center of gravity for the Polestar 3 is the same as the center of gravity for the Polestar 1.
Yes.
Which you wouldn't think that was attainable with, you know, a big SUV.
A true SUV.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you compare the height of this one and compare with the Polestar 1, but it's the same center of gravity. And that, of course, embrace the driver dynamics that Joakim is working with the complete Polestar DNA in this car.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've already spent some time on the track. I can attest to the fact that it doesn't feel like an SUV, you know, and this is driving on ice at high speeds. The car feels smaller when you're driving it than what it is. I mean, it's not a large SUV. It's a good size SUV, 5-seat SUV. It's not a 7-seat SUV. It doesn't have third row, but it has a lot of volume on the inside. It seems like, you know, more volume than what you would get when you look at the exterior of it.
Exactly, because we wanted to have a 5-seater, so you get 5 very good seating positions in the inner side, and also with a lot of leg room in the rear. So traditionally, if you want to have a 7-seater, it's quite squeezed for the length of this car. But that's why we chose, okay, let's go for a 5-seater, but it's very nice and spacious interior-wise.
Yeah, and I also noticed the roof line isn't very tall. I mean, I'm not that tall of a guy, and I can see over the vehicle.
Yeah.
So, you know, but again, sitting inside it,
exactly.
There's a lot of headroom.
And that's why I say it's not an ordinary SUV. It's the Polestar take on a performance SUV where you actually get all the benefits of an SUV with the high ground clearance and the seating position, even though it's a little bit more sporty position than you used to. But even though you see it's a more slimmer design, but when sitting inside, it is a true SUV feeling.
And it's probably additionally to lower the CDA, right? Having the lower roof line for range, which, speaking of range, it hasn't been officially EPA range rated yet, but the estimates are
315.
That's for the dual
miles.
motor, and the performance is slightly less.
It's slightly less.
Okay.
It is around 278, I believe. I will double check that later on, but it's preliminary numbers. However, that is in performance mode. So you could actually swap it to a range mode, and then you increase additional miles.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't want
if you're
always
going
drive
for a long distance, etc.
Exactly, and that's when you're more concerned with your range. When you're on a long drive, you just drop it in range mode.
In range mode.
So great.
Exactly.
We'll take a look at the rear a little bit.
Yeah, and then of course we have these ones also for the door handles. That also improves the aerodynamics, of course, together with a complete system. And then we go here, you see the roof line going down, and here you also see on the side, this is also due to aerodynamics, so you get the complete wind in the right position, also with this one. So all these are done to get the complete aerodynamics of a system, including the rear wing. So you get the air down underneath. So it's not one thing, it's a complete system that we thought about doing it while we were designing the car.
Okay, well,
so
it
super
works.
Important.
Visually, it works.
Yes,
and,
it does.
Performance-wise, it works.
Yes.
So I think you nailed it on both points there. Listen,
fantastic.
Thank you very much for the time spent here, and good luck with Polestar 3.
Thank you very much. Nice having you here.
State of Charge is powered by Qmerit. After I've helped you decide which electric vehicle charging equipment you're going to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and let the EV charging installation professionals at Qmerit install it. So I'm here in northern Sweden driving on a frozen lake and being supervised by Joakim from Polestar. Joakim, tell me a little bit about, well, first introduce yourself, please. Tell me what you do at Polestar and why am I here on a frozen lake driving in northern Sweden?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I'm working at Polestar as Chief Test Engineer, which means I'm working in a team that will create the Polestar driving DNA with tuning suspension. That means tires, bushing, shock absorbers, software for steering torque vectoring layout.
Which I'm experiencing right now.
Yes, and
Around a
also
turn.
the slide little here as well. Well, pretty nice. So the team which I'm part of, we are tuning this, and the reason we are using the lake is here we are alone, so you can push the car to the limit and also above the limit if you want.
Well, I did hit a snowbank already.
Yep, and there is no problem to do that. So you have time to analyze it. And if it works up here on ice, cold climate, it works everywhere.
And it's not as cold as it can get up here right now. You can get to negative 45, negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit
Yes.
up here on this frozen lake, which is, you assure me, is about a meter thick, so we're not going to go through it right now.
No, it's totally safe, but it's, as you said, it can be very cold up here.
Yeah.
And our job is to make sure that the car works in these conditions.
So
The
if it works here,
steering-
it'll work anywhere.
Yes,
That's what you're saying.
the steering, and also that the chassis is quiet. Because when it's cold, you can get some squeak and rattle, and we make sure that it's quiet in minus 30 degrees. I don't know how many Fahrenheit it is, but pretty cold.
That's minus 30 Celsius is close to minus 30 Fahrenheit. They come together at minus 40, so it's pretty cold.
Yep.
And how do you, if you hear a squeak or something developing, how do you figure out where it is? You're inside the car driving and you hear a squeak, but then when you pull over to look at it, it's not squeaking.
Yeah, it depends what kind of noise it is. We have different way of finding out, but I can tell you, if we find a noise, we will find a root cause for it.
Yeah. Okay.
And before we put the car in production.
All right, well, squeaks are one thing, but now we're talking about driving dynamics, which is really why I'm up here.
Yes.
And I honestly have never driven on a frozen lake before, and I am very surprised with how well I'm doing. It's I don't really give the credit to my driving because I've got a lot of experience driving a car, but not on a frozen lake.
Yeah.
And we are on studded Michelin tires, but they're the original equipment tires that are going to come as available on the Polestar 3. It's not like special tires or anything.
No, it's just
but,
production specification here.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you do very well. But that's one thing. What we try to create here is a car that driver feels that he's the driver, and the car is just reacting on what the driver wants to do. So we have a torque vectoring. That's a very clever system. So when you move the steering wheel, we get a little bit more torque on the outer wheel to make sure the car is turning.
Right.
And when you accelerate, we put a little bit more torque to turn the car, and that's the reason you drive through the curve here on slippery ice without any problem, in pretty good speed as well.
Yeah, I'm going 75 kilometers an hour around pretty aggressive turns, and the vehicle isn't really asking me to make any corrective measures. It's really something. We do have the stability control on. We're going to take it off later and have a little bit more fun.
I will try to push you so you reach the limit here, because that's the reason we're on the lake.
Yeah, and with talking about torque vectoring, you said that you use a 2-clutch system.
Yes.
Talk a little bit maybe about why your specific system here for the Polestar maybe is special.
Yeah, it's two reasons. One reason is to make sure the car feels agile and turning in the way the driver wants, so we can move the torque distribution between left and right side rear axle, and that makes the car feel nimble. The second reason is when you're driving on a highway, straight road, we can disconnect the whole rear axle and improve range, because if you're cruising at a constant speed on asphalt, just straight, why should you have an all-wheel driven car?
Yeah, so there's two modes, range mode and performance
mode. Yeah, so in range mode, when you're cruising, just driving straight, we disconnect the rear axle and improve range. But soon as you need the all-wheel drive system, it's connected and it goes seamless and very fast. You will not even notice it. And as you see here on the lake, you're driving, and I would say you're doing very well, and you haven't been in a car for 10 minutes now, and it looks like you feel confident.
Well, it's giving me confidence. You know, I'm a little surprised with how stable it is on the ice, and it's not smooth ice. It's very bumpy surface. In addition to being ice, there's a lot of ridges and uneven surfaces, and it's really. It's amazing how well the stability control works. I'm taking some of these turns at 75 kilometers an hour, and it feels like I'm on pavement practically. It's absolutely performing better than I expected.
But I'm not surprised. This is the result of 3 years hard working. We have spent months up here driving on ice, and you just driving the result of hard work.
Yeah, well, Polestar is known as a performance brand, so I think that, you know, customers expect to be able to give it a little bit more juice on the turns and curves,
yes,
and the vehicle should be able to handle it. But this is an SUV, you know, so you would almost think that the performance might be a little bit of a lower priority, because it's, you know, it's a family hauler, it's an SUV, it's not a sports sedan, but it drives like a small vehicle.
Yeah, for some brands, they just make an SUV, but for Polestar, it stands for something. It's a driver's car. People who want to have a car which is fun to drive, we're allowed to make this happen. And once again, that's the reason. You're doing well. You have to push much harder.
80 kilometers an hour on a turn and just sliding a little bit, but it's correcting me.
Yeah, but you see how easy it is, and slowly you lose the rear axle, but you have plenty of time to counter steer smooth.
Yeah, it gives you confidence. It really does. I can imagine just driving on a regular icy road, how, you know, it would feel like there was no ice at all. I mean, like I said, this is a frozen lake, and we're speeding, and it's all curves, and it's still just handling so well. So another thing that we were talking about earlier was the air suspension and how that contributes in damping. Maybe talk a little bit about what you guys did to make this, you know.
Yeah, but what we have is dual air chamber. It's an air suspension with 2 different modes. One comfort mode with a huge air balloon that makes the car soft, it breathes. That one you use on motorways when you're cruising, and like this car feels soft, still well adapted. And then you can switch here to firm, and we close one air chamber and make the air balloon half the size. Then it's a little bit stiffer, actually 15 Newton per millimeter difference to make it stiffer.
So and there's also a nimble, right, in the middle of the two, between standard and firm?
Yes, it's a mix between. And due to what we changed spring rate, the IM frequency in the suspension, we have active dampers, which we have tuned in all 3 modes, so it fits the spring rate. So in every suspension mode here, we have a perfect match between spring rate and suspension damping force.
Okay.
And that's, you can feel here when you drive. We just make it more compact, a little bit more controlled when you switch to a firm mode here. And
with regenerative braking, I see there's 3 different modes. You have off, which is just free wheel coasting. You can turn the regenerative braking off on the vehicle completely, which most EVs you can't. Most have even a low level of regen. But then there's low and standard. And I've been playing around with the different modes here on the ice, and I thought perhaps in the strong regenerative braking mode standard, I might feel a little bit less stable on the turns, but that's not the case. No. It doesn't seem to, the stability control, I guess, just, you know, factors that in and doesn't over brake, you know, on the turns at all.
Yeah, but that's, as you said, is a question a lot of people ask. How does regen, one pedal drive, work on ice? Work in the same way on asphalt.
Yeah.
And that's what the ESC system take care of, to make the car stable in all situations.
Right.
So, no, it's not a problem.
And then the steering, I can adjust the steering
Yes.
between light, standard, and firm. And we were playing with that earlier. There's definitely a noticeable feeling. Sometimes it's hard to tell exactly when you're driving a vehicle, when you change between. The soft is usually really floaty, but and then the middle you almost can't tell. But this, all three settings, light, standard, and firm, I can feel a noticeable difference. But none of them, even though light doesn't feel like the vehicle's floating on me. It's there's still a pretty direct response, and it feels pretty tight.
Yeah, that's another thing. Because when we tune the steering wheel, we have always in mind that we should create 3 different modes, and that should be crystal clear when you switch from these 3 modes. And we start working with standard mode. We tune all parameters in the way we really want it. And then we decide, all right, now we should tune the light mode. And we just move the steering torque around 8%, something like that. But we also adjust it for different speed. So in low speed, it's very light, but above 150 kilometer, it starts building some torque, come a little bit closer. So we have optimized it in every single speed level from 0 to 210 kilometers per hour to make sure it feels good. Then we did the same in firm mode.
Okay.
And that took more than 1,000 hours driving on different roads around the world.
And lakes.
And lakes. And minus 30 degrees up to 30 plus degrees.
Yeah. Well, let's knock off stability control now and see if I can avoid going into a snowbank, okay? There you
It's
go.
off, so now it's up to you. And this is the tightest curve of the track. But
And I'm going too
come
fast?
on, no. Perfect. Oh, you're doing well. But it seems like we are stepping up now, like more focused.
Yeah, well, I've had a little time behind the wheel. You know, our first couple of laps, I was just trying to get used to it, but now it's...
But you feel here how the car
I'm a little tight on this
starts
turn.
slowly to turn, and then you can accelerate, and you will feel how all systems support you, and you use the steering wheel to indicate which direction you want.
Yeah. But it's amazing how the stability control, when I have it on, how now, of course, it's not as much fun driving, but how I could take some of these turns at remarkable speeds and the vehicle just steered through them. Does all the work for you, but of course people like to uncheck that stability control and have some fun, and we are on a lake, so you know.
So please have fun. That's the reason why we're here.
I think I am I not smiling enough? Oh.
You're doing well. You have a lot of safety margin, at least 1 meter.
Yeah.
And now you're driving pretty fast.
Yes.
So it feels like the confidence is coming up. So sooner or later we will, it's working fine. It's working fine. No, but this is the Swedish way. Give you time to experience a car. You drive as many laps as you want here.
Yeah, I'm really
stop
impressed.
and do some fika and then out at the track again.
Yeah, it's really, you know, as I said earlier, Polestar is known as a performance brand, and even its SUV has to be a performance vehicle.
Yes.
And people expect that. And I think it's rated, you know, at the top number 3 as far as customer opinions in the US on multiple studies as a performance brand. That's your DNA. So you have to be able to deliver like this, and you do. And it's amazing to me that I'm on a frozen lake and ripping around the turns. At 80 kilometers an hour, and you know, it's just handling it. Whoa.
Yeah, but that's the thing. it's all about to create a car which is fun to drive, at the same time predictable.
Yeah.
And if you do that, the customer, driver will feel confident, as you.
Yeah,
After 20 minutes driving on the ice, you are playing with a car, at the same time talking. We do an interview here.
Yeah. It's given me confidence for sure.
Yes, and you're sliding, and it's first time on ice, and you're doing that well.
Yeah.
That's the Polestar way.
Well, with that, Joakim, I want to thank you for coming on and doing this interview. I'm not done driving.
Should we see if we can shake hands in the middle of the curve?
In the middle of the
sliding
curve
as well?
70 kilometers an hour.
You're doing well.
And all right, well, that's it. Thanks for coming on. And listen, good luck with Polestar 3. You know, I definitely have enjoyed my time here, but I'm going to keep driving. We still got a few more hours left.
Use them or what?
We'll see how many snowbanks I can find. I've been in one so far. Hopefully not too many more.
No, but you're doing well, and I will try to push you during the day.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Now, as for charging the Polestar 3, for AC charging, it comes with an 11 kilowatt onboard charger. And that will allow you to fully charge a completely depleted battery from 0 to 100% in about 10 to 11 hours. Now, the car comes with a portable level 1, level 2 dual voltage charger. And when charging on that, it can charge at 40 amps. It's only a 40 amp unit, so it'll take probably about another hour, maybe 12 hours to fully charge. If you're charging it from, say, a NEMA 1450 outlet and using the portable charger that comes with it. It gives you two adapters, one so you could charge on 110 and one so that you could charge from a 240 volt NEMA 1450 outlet. But if you have a proper 48 amp charger, you're going to charge a little bit faster, and figure on adding somewhere about 10% of the battery for every hour you charge. So it's going to have a range of about 300 miles, so you're looking at 10 to 11 hours to fully charge a depleted battery. However, people don't fully deplete their battery and need to charge it all day, so quoting the entire charging time is misleading. You only need to replenish what you use that day. So let's say you were to drive the Polestar 90 miles on any given day. You come home, plug it into your 48 amp home charging equipment, and in 3 hours, it's topped back off. Now, Polestar recommends you charge the vehicle for daily charging only to 90%. And part of that is because they use a big percentage of the battery. This has a 111 kilowatt hour battery pack. Of that, 107 kilowatt hour is usable. So they do use a high percentage of the battery. You don't want to completely fill that battery every day for daily charging unless you need the range. When you need the range, charge it to 100%. But on most days, you want to set that probably to 85 or 90% battery, and you still have more than enough range for daily charging, daily driving. Now, as for DC fast charging, as we're doing here, I just plugged into an Ionity station. The vehicle can accept up to 250 kilowatts, and that's going to allow it to charge from 10% to 80% in 30 minutes, which is acceptable for a large battery like this. It's not class leading, but it's pretty good timing. As long as you can get from 10% to 80% in 30 minutes or less, I think that that's more than acceptable for road tripping, and this should be a good road tripping vehicle. We'll do some range testing once we get one and back in New Jersey, and get to put it through my normal 70 mile an hour highway range test. But as far as the DC fast charging stops, you're going to need less than 30 minutes to get it up to 80%, depending on when you plug in, unless you're plugging in from a very low state of charge. And now for the bad news. When the Polestar 3 launches later this year, it's going to come with a CCS1, a J1772 charging inlet, not the North American Charging Standard, or J3400 as it's officially called now. Polestar has committed to changing to that plug, but it's not going to happen until sometime in 2025. So when this vehicle launches, it's going to have CCS1. Now you'll notice that I'm standing here charging from a Tesla Supercharger. That's because in Europe, they do things a little bit differently than what we do in North America. In Europe, everybody uses the CCS2 plug. It's slightly different than the CCS1 plug that we use in North America. And even Tesla uses it here. So all electric vehicles can charge at all charging stations, Tesla stations or the other networks like the Ionity station you just saw me at. We're doing things a little bit different in the US, and instead of Tesla conforming to what the other automakers use, we're all all the automakers in the US are conforming to what Tesla uses. And soon we should have this one standard, the J3400 or NACS, North American Charging Standard, will be implemented. However, unfortunately, at launch, Polestar 3 is not going to have J3400. It's going to have CCS1 and J1772. If you really want a Polestar 3 with the J3400 plug, you're going to have to wait possibly as much as a year. Polestar wouldn't tell me exactly how long. They are going to transition somewhere probably in a year time frame. So if you really like this vehicle and you could wait until maybe mid-2025 or late 2025, you can get it with the J3400 plug. The Polestar 3 is a 2-row, 5-seat SUV with plenty of interior room. Rear seating is spacious, as is the rear headroom. Rear passengers can control the climate temperature as well as the heated seats from the rear of the center console armrest. There's a panoramic glass roof made of acoustic laminated glass, which lowers cabin noise levels and decreases ultraviolet radiation by 99.5%. There's a floating driver's display similar to that of the Volkswagen ID4 and my old BMW i3, and the left steering column stalk controls wipers and lights, while the right side is the vehicle's gear selector. But most of the vehicle's controls and settings are accessed in the 14.5-inch frameless center display, which has a pixel density of 208 pixels per inch and an anti-reflective coating. Polestar will be manufacturing the Polestar 3 at its South Carolina plant here in the US. And that'll make it eligible for half of the federal tax credit if you purchase the vehicle. If you lease the vehicle, it will be eligible for the full $7,500 federal tax credit. Delivery should begin sometime in the summer of 2024, and the dual motor long range version will have a starting MSRP of $83,900, while the performance version will be $89,300. We'll be keeping a close eye on the Polestar 3 and hopefully have some more content coming out soon on it. It's an exciting electric SUV by the brand. It definitely lives up to the performance you would expect in a Polestar, and I'm personally looking forward to getting a hold of one of these on pavement. We'll keep up with the latest on Polestar 3 news as soon as we get a vehicle available for us in North America to drive around my home state of New Jersey, which happens to be where the Polestar headquarters is. So I should be able to secure one of the vehicles as soon as they're available in the States. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please don't forget, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.